What's up, guys? We are live on Race Talk with Jordan Balasico. My guest today is 24-hour series sports car driver Samantha Tan. Thank you for joining me today. Would you please go ahead and introduce yourself for people who don't know who you are?
Yeah, for sure. So, as you said, my name is Samantha Tan. I'm a 23-year-old professional race car driver. I've raced in Pirelli World Challenge, now known as SRO America, and I'm now competing in the 24-hour series in the same BMW M4 GT4. It's been a crazy journey, but racing is my passion.
That's awesome. So, where exactly can I catch the 24H series races at?
Yeah, so currently it's only being streamed online, basically due to COVID restrictions and everything the
Mm,
past year and a bit. It's been tough. No fans are allowed, but we do have it all live streamed.
that's good. Yeah, because I think the first race that I tried to watch was that first race. I think it was what was it, the 24 hours of Dubai.
Mhm.
I think it was. No, it was that 12-hour race that you guys held earlier in the year. I think it was like March or February.
Okay, so Magello.
Yes, Magellan, yes.
Yeah.
So how exactly does the 24/8 series work for the 12? Do you guys race the full 24 and 12 hours, or do you guys split them up in different races?
Oh no, it's most of the 24 hours. I think all of the 24 hours are the straight 24 hours, the real 24
Hmm.
hours. For example, Dubai was the full 24-hour experience, one of my very first 24-hour races. Um, And yeah, it's basically split between we have 4 drivers, including myself. We basically run until the tires and the fuel are all gone. So the stints basically range from an hour and a half to 2-hour-long stints. There are times where, for example, I could be in for 2 hours and then my co-driver gets in for an hour and then I'm back in for another 2 hours. It all just really depends on the strategy at the time. But yes, we do run for the full 24 hours. The only time that we do split races is if the racetrack has like a noise restriction, but those are typically
Hmm.
for the 12-hour races. So Magello was a split race. It was 6 hours, or I think six. I think it was 6 and 6, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Yeah, because I was checking in. I'm like, wait a minute, they're done already? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, again, it's that noise restriction, so at least we'll get to have, like, a full night's rest, you know?
Hmm.
Because it'll be probably, like, 12 to 6 p.m., and then they'll start it again at, like, 8 a.m. or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's that's pretty. Because I always wondered how that worked.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
basically, like, overnight, you're not allowed to touch the car at all. It goes
Hmm.
into Parc Fermé, and they, like you can cover the car and everything, but you can't
Hmm.
touch the car. If you do end up, like, breaking something on the car or you want to work on your car overnight, then you do take a 10-lap penalty, which is it's a lot.
Hmm.
But again, yeah, just typically won't touch the car overnight.
So that's kind of like how it is over on the NASCAR side. If it's an impound race, you can't touch the car until the day of the race. So that's kind of what you guys do there.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So how did you get started in racing?
So I basically got into racing because of my dad. He's a really big car enthusiast and racing fan. So I kind of grew up watching F1 with him and going to track days. And I just
Hmm.
learned to love the feeling of speed from a very young age. But it wasn't until I sat in my very first race car. It was a Ferrari 458 Challenge. And I got taken on a hot lap with a pro driver around Circuit Mont Tremblant, and
Hmm.
just the, like, intense G-forces, the braking, and the speeds, I fell in love all over again. So, when I, like, got out of that car, I was like, "Wow, that was so badass." I also wanna pursue racing as a career, basically, and everything kinda just took off from there. Got my driver's license at 15 and then was racing when I was 16 years old in a Honda Civic. It was a Honda Civic, '91 Honda Civic.
Now did you grow up in Canada?
Yes, yes, born and raised.
What part of Canada?
So I lived in a little town called Gormley, very far north of
Hmm.
Toronto, about like an hour. Super small town, very quiet.
Okay. So when did you have your first racing? When did you have what at what age did you have your very first sports car race?
Sports car. Well, would you count the Civic as a sports car race? Yeah, so I was 16. Again in that 91 Civic. I competed in a bunch of NASA races. My first race ever was actually at Virginia International Raceway.
Hmm.
I remember when I arrived, there was still snow on the ground. And we had to wait till the afternoon for it to all kind of like melt away. Um, great experience those first few races. Competed in my first national series that same year in the Canadian Touring Car Championship.
Hmm.
I raced a Mini Cooper S JCW. It was a lot of fun. Was crowned Rookie of the Year that year for finishing fifth out of 22 cars in the touring class. The following year, I did move to Pirelli World Challenge with Kinetic Motorsports in their Kia Forte. A lot of fun that car. um, and then just continued. I think I stayed in TCA class for another 2 years before making the jump up to TC in a BMW M235 IR with my race team in 2017, and then moved to the M4 GT4 as that following year in 2018.
Nice. So let's see. So you already taught when you started out. You already said racing was your dream, correct? Because of your dad. Is that correct?
I actually didn't know that race. Well, I had aspirations to be actually like the first female F1 driver. This was before I knew about like Layla Lombardi and all the other women who have
Hmm.
competed in F1. But that was like an aspiration of mine. But I didn't really get serious about racing and everything until I had that experience with the challenge car. So I always loved going fast. I've always loved cars, but yeah, racing wasn't like completely on the radar until later in my life.
So when it came to choosing like your racing team, Samantha Tan Racing, what made you choose? How did you form? How did your race team get formed?
Yeah, so you know how in racing, most of the time you rent the car to drive.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, in 2016, we had paid for a full season with I believe it was a 2016 Honda Civic, if I remember correctly.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, the team went into receivership after my first race, and then the way that they kind of wanted to pay us back was by giving us the race car. But it was just my dad and I, and like obviously we didn't have the resources to, have a full team and everything. So we were kind of scrambling on what to do. But luckily, we already knew this other team, the Whitmer family, who Nick Whitmer races with me still today. We kind of like partnered up with them. They helped support our car. And then later that year, we did establish Samantha Tan Racing. Found a bunch of the people who I work with again, or I've worked with over the past few years, from the Ferrari driving experience that I used to participate in many years ago. They're my racing family now, and couldn't have done everything that I've done today without them.
And I noticed recently that you was on the cover of a racing magazine. Was it, or was it like or was it like a car magazine?
Yeah, so that magazine is called Autostrada. It's actually a magazine owned by a family friend of ours, Lucas Scarfone, who also shoots for BMW Canada. It was a complete honor. It was my first ever magazine cover, and it was a very personal article to me. It basically went over my career, about some of my other hobbies and things that I've been doing with the car community. But it was just a lot of fun, and just so proud to be on that cover and share that cover with other racing legends.
That's pretty cool. It's like you're a legend when you're on cover of a magazine.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Now, your last race was Virginia, correct?
Yes, and it was extremely
And
hot.
and you finished third. If finished third, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Now, do you have any wins in the 24H series
Yes,
or
we had
GT4?
two wins this year, right at the beginning of the year, 24 Hour of Dubai,
Uh-huh.
and also the 6 Hour of Abu Dhabi. I was the first Asian woman to ever win the 24 Hour of Dubai and first woman to ever win the 6 Hour of Abu Dhabi, which was amazing. Um, that 24-hour race just went perfectly. Nothing broke on the car. It went as smoothly as it could have. I mean, the team executed perfectly. All of us drove like as best as we could, and I was so proud to have stepped up onto that podium in first with the team. Definitely very well deserved.
Nice. How did you choose the 24H series out of IMSA, Lamaze Asia, touring car? How did you choose 24H?
So I'm still developing as a driver, and I
Mhm.
do still have a coach. So his suggestion, obviously, everybody needs seat time, and I think seat time is the key to becoming a better
Mhm.
driver and developing your skills. So we all got together. My coach brought up 24-hour series and it being the most cost-effective way to get that seat time, because ultimately my end goal is to be in Le Mans in the next couple, maybe 3 years.
Mhm.
So I definitely want to start getting that endurance racing experience as well. So 24-hour series has just been incredible. They're very, very well organized, and it's an amazing series to run in.
Yeah, I had not really see. I've been a racing fan for well over 24 years, and I had never heard of the 24H series up until about a couple of years ago. Because I was like, I'm like 24. I'm like, I know there's different types of racing across the world, but I knew there was Lamaze, IMSA, which I knew that was the Grand Am Rolex series growing up.
Mhm.
So, do you ever hope to run the Rolex 24 at Daytona someday?
Yes, that's also another big goal of mine, because I think that's one of the top endurance races as well. It's
Hmm.
definitely iconic in the U.S., and I think IMSA is definitely one of the top is the top sports car racing series in North America, and it's definitely a goal to get there. But as you probably know, funding is one of the biggest challenges in racing, and IMSA is unfortunately extremely expensive to participate in. So
Hmm.
hopefully, just after continuing to work on myself and my skills and get those sponsors, you'll see me up there at the Rolex 24.
Well, I'll be cheering you on. Hopefully, I see you on there someday. Um, so one of my big so my friend William has a
Mhm.
question for you. He wants to know if you would ever be interested in running a NASCAR race or two.
Ah, I know NASCAR is where all the money's at, and I definitely respect all my girlfriends that I've seen competing in NASA, but it's not really my vibe. Um, definitely love sports car racing, wanted to get my hands into formula racing as well, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, I mean, if the opportunity arose, I'd love to try it. You know, can't really have an opinion until I've tried it myself.
Right. So you said you're big. Your main goal is to race Formula One. Is that correct?
It used to be. My main goal is now to compete in Le Mans, to be the first Asian woman to win Le Mans.
Okay, I'm pretty sure you could do that someday.
Fingers
Now,
crossed.
I know 2020 and 2021 has been hit hard with the hate towards Asians. Um, have did you face racism a lot when you first started racing in sports car racing as a Asian Canadian driver?
Mhm. Um, Personally, I was never discriminated against. I was not never
Mhm.
like no one was ever racist directly to me. I think something
Mhm.
related that I struggled with a lot when I started racing was the stereotypes that Asians are bad drivers, that women are bad drivers. And when those are constantly reinforced by both media and society, it caused a lot of doubt in myself about whether or
Mhm.
not I could succeed, because when I started racing 7 years ago, there was nobody like me or nobody that looked like me. No other Asian Canadian woman in racing, and there still isn't an Asian Canadian woman in professional sports car racing. So because I didn't have that kind of like counter example,
Mhm.
it was only my experiences and my thoughts that could really disprove those stereotypes. So I really did doubt in the beginning whether or not I could be successful, but I decided to, keep pushing, because I wanted to prove not only to myself but for others that
Mhm.
stereotypes don't define us. And I think that there are these stereotypes about Asian women that we are like dainty, diminutive, cute but not sexy, shy, and not outspoken. But how can any of that be true when yet I exist? And so, being at the intersection of race and gender and living as an Asian woman, I think it's given me this tremendous opportunity to define myself and define success on
Hmm.
my own terms, because I think one of the greatest pleasures in life is doing something that people say you can't.
And and yeah, I can respect that because it's like when I seen, well, see, when I seen all that going on last year, and I'm like, why can't we all just get along? We're all this, we're all human race. We're not.
Yeah.
Of course, we're going to agree to disagree on certain things, especially with certain different cultures.
Mhm.
So back in February, I did an interview with former NASCAR driver Bill Lester for
Nice.
Drive for Diversity, and he he at first he didn't want to do the interview, but then when he seen like my promotional videos and stuff like that, he was telling me stories of when he first started out in NASCAR. As you said, nobody looked like him. He was the only African American in NASCAR. Nobody around him looked like him. He was telling a story about a time in Talladega, Alabama, when he said he had to sprint through the grandstand just to get up to the press boxes to meet with sponsors and stuff. So I know racism's been around for like me. I don't like seeing other people of different races and cultures being tortured or made fun of because they don't look like the same person.
Yeah.
So with the diversity in motorsports, how do you feel about these different cultures coming to racing from like Brazil, China, Japan, all across the world? How do you feel about more diversity in racing, not just sports car racing, but NASCAR alone?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great, and I think NASCAR is making a big step by introducing that Drive for Diversity program. I
Hmm.
mean, at the end of the day, we are all racers. We're all here because we want to race. But I also understand that when you start to introduce more diverse drivers, it inspires
Hmm.
more people, right? And I just think, yeah, I think we have a long way to go, but also we've made leaps and bounds today. Over the past few years, I've seen so many more women and so much more diversity in motorsport than I have when I first started. And yeah, it's incredible to see, but still something we need to work towards.
So you said you started racing 7 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. Was it go karts or sports cars?
I jumped straight into sports cars. I never did competitive karting.
Mhm. Yeah, I seen. Was it last week? You was training for Portland in a go kart.
Yeah, so I just started doing that again. I got my very own cart last year.
Hmm.
Coach's idea. Karting is definitely the best training tool. It's the best way to get any kind of experience with racecraft, just physical training as well. Because man, a full day of karting, you will be sore for the whole week after. But yeah, again, really great cost-effective training tool, and hopefully I'll be out there more often.
Yeah. And I've been following along your career a little bit this year. I'm, seeing you race and seeing the for so what came up with your design for your cars for your BMW for STR? What came up with the design?
Yeah, so my creative director, George Bakur, he's an incredible, incredible artist.
Hmm.
He knows that one of my favorite pieces of artwork of all time is Starry Night. So we've always been very inspired by BMW's art cars, and we knew we wanted to do
Hmm.
something similar. So we just got together, and he rendered that beautiful Starry Night livery, and that's the same livery you see on the car today. I don't know if we'll ever change it because I feel like it's become such an iconic car, but
Hmm.
definitely if you see us change it, it'll be something art inspired.
Yeah, because when I first seen it, I was like, I've never seen a car look like it. And I, I love the design of the car. I love the way it looks.
Thank you so much. Really
Oh,
appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. So, so do you have the same team of both G? So, what is GT4 America exactly?
So GT4 America, I think it includes both Sprint X and the sprint races.
Mhm.
The sprint races
Mhm.
are one driver, 50 minutes. Sprint X is 1 hour, two drivers. You have a 10-minute pit window, so I think they'll open it up at 35 minutes to go. And you
Mhm.
obviously have to come and do your driver change within that 10-minute period. And yeah, it's a pretty much like a sprint race for both drivers, but it was like kind of an introduction to endurance racing and the whole driver change aspect of it,
Mhm.
because there is strategy that goes into it. Most of the time you want your faster driver to be in for longer, and you'll basically try to cut it as close as possible to the pit window closing. But
Mhm.
you have to factor in, how long the pit lane is and all the timing, and make sure to not be over the speed limit when you cross that line. We've definitely had a few mistakes in the past, but I think we've learned from them.
Okay. So it's kind of like a developmental program, basically, sort of.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, GT4 America has become really, really big over the past couple of years. The fields are
Mhm.
huge. They're huge. I think this year at VIR, at least, there were at least 38 cars on track, just for Sprint X, and it's amazing to see. The competition's very, very high.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's honestly an honor to have been on that track racing with some of those big name drivers like Bill Oberlin. It's amazing to see and just very, very humbling.
Yeah. So how many races a year between both series do you run?
So this year's been kind of different. Running in the 24-hour series is our very first international series. They're
Mhm.
about they're almost every month. Those 24-hour series. I'm not running in GT4 America this year, unfortunately, but I have been doing some TC America races. So I did compete in COTA and I did compete in VIR, but I do not think I will be competing for the rest of the year in that series.
Mhm.
But yeah, for the 24-hour series, it's pretty much almost every month. Our next stop is Portugal for Portimao, July 16 to 18 for another 24-hour race. It's supposed to be very, very hot, so we're looking forward to it.
So you said you raced at COTA, correct?
Yes.
So I don't know if you caught the NASCAR at COTA for the first time this year. If you did, I want to know what your thoughts were about how they ran that race this year with the first time this year.
I was not there for the NASCAR race, unfortunately. I had a few friends that did go though, and I heard that they removed the fencing or something, and it was absolutely crazy. And they allowed all the fans in. I heard it was a really great experience, but yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to go.
Okay, so how many more races do you have left this season in the 24H series?
Okay, so we have Portugal, we have
Mhm.
Barcelona in, I think that's end of August, Sicily, and then we end the year at Sebring for a 24-hour of Sebring, which has never been done before, and it's going to
Mhm.
be extremely interesting to see how the cars hold up.
That is one of the most iconic tracks here in the United States.
Yes, sir. Respect those bumps.
Yeah. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised if the IMSA guys, however you say it, would runs in that series with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I encourage them to all come out. It's gonna be crazy.
Well, Samantha, I appreciate you taking some time to come on to the race talk today.
Oh no,
Do
thank
you
you so
have
much for having me.
do you have any advice for anybody who wants to become a sports car racer someday?
Yeah, man, I mean, it's gonna be tough. I'm not gonna lie. Funding is gonna be our biggest challenge, but I think, you know, naturally all of us are scared of failure, but
Hmm.
failure teaches us how to grow, how to learn from mistakes and eventually succeed. So don't be scared. Keep pushing, keep working hard. You'll get there.
And now, do you have any merchandise out yet, or are you guys still working on that?
Yes, it's coming out very, very soon. I promise. I actually just got the last shipment today, so we will be setting up the shop very soon, and hopefully you guys get to see it
Absolutely. And I know
very
I had
shortly.
put in the request. Yeah. I know I had put in a request for autograph hero card from Mia. I know you got pretty sure you got a lot of requests for those.
Oh yeah, I actually ran out of hero cards because I got so many requests, but I've got more now, so hopefully I'll be shipping those out sometime this week. I'm so
Um,
sorry to everybody who's requested. I know it's been a very long wait, but I'm at home doing everything myself. So hopefully I'll get those to you soon.
all right. Well, good luck in Portugal, and thank you for joining me today.
Of course, thank you so much.
Have a good
Oh,
one.
you too.
Uh,
Bye.
bye.